Hey, dark moon, oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why you've lost your splendor. Dark moon, what is the cause your love withdraws? Is it because you've lost your love? Hey, dark moon, oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why you've lost your splendor. Dark moon, what is the cause your love withdraws? Is it because you've lost your love? Hey, mortals have dreams of life's endless schemes, but they don't realize that love will sometimes bring, baby, hey, dark moon, hey, hey, oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why you've lost your splendor. Yeah, dark moon, what is the cause your love withdraws? Is it because you lost your love? Mortals have dreams, they have dreams of life's endless schemes, but they don't realize that love it sometimes brings. Hey, dark moon, oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why you've lost your splendor. Oh, tell me why you lost your splendor. Yeah, dark moon, what is the cause your love withdraws? Is it because you lost your love? Is it because you lost your love? Oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why I see you, dark moon. Oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why I see you, dark moon. Oh, way up high up in the sky. Tell me why I see you.
Oh, morena, e te whānau. As you can see, I'm a bit rugged up this morning. It's a bit makariri. It's a beautiful morning. Been outside, done some chores, try to warm up, and come back inside to the warmth. And I do love our winter time for that, because you want to wake yourself up, you just need to walk outside, and you want to snuggle up, you just need to walk back inside. But how are you this morning? It is a beautiful, beautiful day here in the Waikato. Very, very crisp morning. We normally have, during the winter time, a lot of fog, but there was no fog this morning, which is awesome. And the washing's been out early. Had a bit of moko time, and the moko is now having a nanais. My darling's just making us some kai, and I'm just so grateful. You know, he's a wonderful husband and a great supporter of mine, my wingman. He's going, shush, 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 as you do, as you do. Stop talking about me, he's saying. But I do have to acknowledge him because, he goes through all the ups and downs with me. He goes through all the challenges. He's right there, right beside me. And we've had some doozies, as you know. I've shared, I'm a pretty open, transparent book. And so, I tend to share my life with you, but there's some stuff that we don't share, that we keep to ourselves. But, he's just an awesome shoulder to lean on at times, shoulder to cry on, when things get a little bit challenging in life. And I've had a few over the last few months. Thank you, Tigger. He is very humble, my darling, very, very humble. And when we went to the AGM in the weekend, the older women just adore him and feel safe around him. He was quite charming when he was young too, I must say. Very charming, actually, and he hasn't lost that charm. I call it my secret weapon. And those of us that know him just know he's not a man of many words, but he's very, very loyal. He was loyal to all his employers and employees as an employer himself, very loyal. He has old school ethics and old school integrity, and I've learnt a lot from him over the years. So, my success is his success, really. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I'm going to share you something, and then we'll have a bit of a kōrero. Normally I share Russell Brand, but I'm going to share Neil Oliver. You can hear that thing, and he's making me a coffee. he's just doing the sugar. I think he forgets that I'm on a live. But anyway, he makes beautiful coffee. So I'm going to share you this clip from Neil Oliver, and then we'll have a kōrero when it finishes. So I'll mute myself.
Are abhorrent, and I do not say what I'm about to say lightly. I know for many, the captivity of lockdown has greatly increased the suffering and the risk. But in my opinion, I say we are in a version of an abusive relationship with our leaders. The trust is gone, and when trust goes, it never really comes back. A vase dropped and smashed might be glued together again, but you'd never put water and flowers in it. A lot of us feel like we're going mad. Lockdown made us isolated and kept us isolated. I say that this was deliberate and crucial to the strategy of them keeping us right where they wanted us. We couldn't get together with loved ones to talk all of it through. That's classic abusive behaviour that made us feel more alone and intensified the feeling of being dependent on our government. There was, after all, no one else. Our government told us one thing one day, promised it was the absolute truth and we could count on it 100%. And then the next day, the story changed. And when any of us queried it, we were shouted down for being mad conspiracy theorists. Professor Chris Whitty once told us this disease posed a threat almost exclusively to the very old and the very ill. From what I can make out, that's still the case. Masks were not needed, they said, way back in March 2020, since they, and I quote, reduced the risk almost not at all. There would never be vaccine passports, they said, because those were divisive and an affront to every notion of liberty. The young, the very young especially, had more to fear from missing school than from COVID, they said. Now masks are apparently all compassionate people wear. Vaccine passports seemingly the only way to go on holiday or get into a gig or into a place of worship. And double jabs for vulnerable children and babies loom larger and larger. It's been like trying to put together a jigsaw, but one from which too many pieces are missing, and the picture on the box changes every day. When we look confused and want to ask a question now, we get that look that means we should quieten down now, right now. Everything bad was our fault. Every time something bad happened, it was our government that felt let down, hurt most. Always it was because we had broken the rules. We couldn't be trusted to know what was best. That was the government's job. We're too stupid, apparently. We should leave it up to them. What do we mean we want to go to work outside the house, earn our own money? Don't we know that makes our government, how that makes our government feel? Our government is working so hard. And yet, even now there are millions of us who still haven't got the message. Let's take this idea of mine about an abusive relationship a little further. Those like us, born and raised here in the West, have known generations of peace. We look back at our parents and grandparents, as it were, and see good, strong marriages between people and state. We have assumed that our relationships would be the same as those because we were born to trust. We are what sociologists call a high-trust society, and among the first of those in the world. That elevated level of trust might work if you're in a good relationship with a trustworthy partner. If you're with someone who betrays all of that trust, then you're especially vulnerable to the old tricks. We were born to trust, to assume our government would always have our best interests at heart. For me, this past year has been made hardest of all by the steady realization day by day and week by week that our trust has been misplaced and then abused. I receive a lot of letters. It's been going on for many months, and I've kept every one, hundreds and hundreds of letters and cards. The game, for a game it has been to some extent, is to avoid using anything like a formal address. And so onto the envelopes, the senders put doodles of me, or descriptions like the long-haired guy who walks around the coast, or him off the telly, or even just you know who, Stirling. My postman has done the most excellent job of making sure they reach me. It's been the best of fun and uplifting to my spirits and to those of my family. Every day my kids go to the door to check for the latest arrivals. Inside many of the envelopes though, behind the fun, are serious words. More than half of all the letters I've received have been moving beyond my powers of description. If there's been a recurrent theme, it runs along the lines of, I thought I was going mad. I thought it was just me. I've had nowhere to turn for help and I've felt so alone. Others tell stories of loss of jobs, of friends, of hope itself. People whose lives have been turned upside down and inside out by this past year and more of upheaval. The letters have come from every corner of the British Isles and also from thousands of miles away. I've had them from Australia and New Zealand, from all over Europe, from Asia. Many have come from the USA and Canada. Flowing through many of the letters, too many of them, indeed, is the sound of confusion and awful, awful sadness and loneliness. There's so much more I could say, but it boils down to this. We are not alone if we look beyond our own walls and see that there are millions more like us, just as confused and, underneath it all, filled with righteous anger. If you tolerate this, your children will be next, is from the Spanish Civil War. It was on a poster used by the Republicans in the fight against fascism. I say, if you want to survive an abusive relationship, the day comes when all you can do is take the kids and walk away from the old life.
So that was Neil Oliver, and
This is Trevor Carr. Trevor
hang
spent
on.
over $200,000 in 2019. Use it.
Sorry, his life continued on to an ad. So some of the points that he pulled up. A lot of us feel that we are going mad. Lockdown makes us feel like we're going mad. We couldn't get together with loved ones. That's classic abusive behaviour. Our government told us one thing one day, then changed it. And when we queried it, we were shouted down for being a conspiracy theorist. Now, does that sound familiar? Absolutely does. And, I get it all the time. And being in abusive relationships can stem from a lot of areas. Trust is so important. And when, like he said, like Neil Oliver said, when that trust is broken, you can never get it back again. And I've always been warned about people, and I trust first, and I don't listen to what other people have to say about certain people. I like to go on my own journey, and I think that that's important. You don't even listen to me. I know people are guided by me, but don't listen to me. Go on your own journey. Um, a journey of discovery, a journey of research, a journey of finding your own truth, and put together what you think and feel is tika and pono. And we've got to take each other's advice in regards to trusting people. I'm not saying I'm not trustworthy, but I'm saying do your own uh, um, due diligence. It's so important. And when you do your own due diligence, let those people guide you, like Russell Brand. He's a guiding light. I see him as a light, a guiding light of wisdom. He's got a brilliant research team behind him. He's definitely an influencer. He's got a strong following. And Neil Oliver, who we might remember as walking along our coastline. He's been here to Aotearoa, and he's done a documentary on our coastline. Oh, it's our moko with koko. Oh. So yeah. What does Val say? I have to say, Donna, you joining the party as the co-leader has given us hope. A party that is willing to fight for us. Thank you, Donna and Sue. I'd always been a Labour voter. Then I got excited with Te Pāti Māori and felt deeply. I'm going to put your comment up, Val, and felt deeply let down. Thank you, hun. I really do appreciate that. I belong to a party who respects what I offer, and I'm not saying I'm an expert in anything at all. I'm just saying it takes courage to stand, and maybe that mama bear side of me that has the courage to fight for my mukupuna's future, and to fight for whānau that have been, I'm talking about seriously vaccine injured. That's not belonging to as some Māori commentators has stated, that I have now joined the anti-vaxxer party, or the anti-vaxxer leader, Sue Gray. Anti-vaxxer? Let's be really clear. And the media, let's be really clear. I don't care if you're the Māori media or mainstream media. Māori media are starting to push out the same narrative and the same rhetoric that mainstream media are pushing out. And I thought that they would do something different. And I thought that they would hear the cries and the calls and the mamai of their own people, of their own whānau who've been vaccine injured. But obviously it's fallen on deaf ears. I must say, with Te Hiku Radio, yesterday, I was interviewed yesterday, and he didn't challenge my position. at all. He listened. And, sometimes that's what free speech is about. It's not about agreeing with everyone. It's about listening to the opposition. He may not have agreed with me, but he allowed me to have a kōrero. That he listened to why I went from the Māori party to the outdoors party. And, he didn't challenge it. He didn't try and shut me down like other mainstream medias will try and shut you down or call you a conspiracy theorist or all of that. He allowed, and I spoke for about 15 minutes on his radio station. So I respect that. I respect that he didn't shut me down. He allowed me to share that kōrero and said that, he has heard of whānau that have said that they're vaccine injured. And my challenge out there to all of us is that we have seen them, and I'm going to look for Liz Gunn's interview of a number of vaccine and serious injuries, and let alone the story that I've shared of my own experience with my father. He's a taonga. He's a taonga to us, and he's one of my reasons why. He's one of my reasons why, and I have my youngest mokopuna here, and one of my older mokopuna here as well, and they are my other reason why, their future. And by crikeys, I am going to open this waha because God gave me a waha, and I've been outspoken all my life. Ask my husband. Sometimes when he doesn't want me to, I am, and he I'm sure he's cringed a many a time when I've been outspoken, and then thought about it once I've been outspoken and thought, yes, that was appropriate. But it's hard to be the outspoken one. You're like that goose that puts their neck out. Yeah, I'm the goose that puts my neck out. But anyway, and I do discuss lots of issues that impact on me personally, impact on my whānau, my hapu, my iwi, my tupuna, and my mokopuna. And I will continue to use this waha for the betterment of society as whole. And Mum's just turned up, huh? Okay. So bye-bye, Annie. Bye-bye, darling. So beautiful. So we are so gifted. We are so gifted to have these tonga. Bye-bye. Got a big smile on. Must know his mama's back. To have these tonga, these tonga, and I mean mokopuna and kaumātua, they're tonga, and they are vulnerable, and they need us. They absolutely need us, and they are our why. So I really enjoyed what Neil Oliver said about being in an abusive relationship with our government, and how they've made us feel alone, made us feel mad, that we're going mad, made us feel depressed and sad. This isn't a government that is uniting. They've used emergency powers to control and oppress us. And I think why I've been accepted into the outdoors party with open arms is because me and my people have had nearly 200 years of being oppressed. And what happened down in Wellington in the occupation, the segregation, the vilification of those that dared to stand up to this government, the people felt it. The people felt like second-class citizens. For my people, it's like we were relegated down to third-class citizens. And, that's shocking. That is shocking. And I think this government, as was seen in the polls, they should hang their head low. Another thing I want to talk about, whānau, and is actually Minister Jackson. And he's been a little bit outspoken of late, and I actually agree with what he has had to say. I went onto his Facebook page, and I'll just read out what he has said. He said, "Not only do I think that David Seymour is useless at advocating for Māori, I think he's dangerous as well. ACT's alternative budget will see a right-wing butchering of fundamental services and voices for women, Māori youth, Pacifica, and our ethnic communities. David is advocating for billions of welfare to be cut on top of a slash and burn of state departments, not seeing the worst excesses of privatisation. The media want to focus on me calling David a useless Māori for his failure to build for Māoridom. All David wants to do is tear things down, and tear things down he will. The Human Rights Commission, the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry for Women, the Ministry for Māori, the Ministry for Pacific Peoples, the Office for Crown Māori Affairs, and the Ministry of Ethnic Communities. David is promising to destroy all that, and the media want to focus on the mean names I called him. Are you kidding me? This is life and death stuff for many of these communities I represent. This far-right experiment in privatisation that ACT is so casually attempting to sell will cause mayhem and destruction throughout the state sector and cause an enormous backlash in almost every social sector. Normally, no one would have to care about David's right-wing fantasies, but because National cannot form a government without ACT, if you vote National, you are electing ACT party policy, and the more people who know that between now and 2023 election, the better. What ACT is proposing is an abdication of responsibility for a democracy, and I will criticise him and his ugly, detrimental politics every chance I get. Well, in that case, I couldn't agree with Minister Jackson more. But hey, he's also belongs to a party that has destroyed families, destroyed souls, and their actions have been genocidal. Their own data says that. So I'm not speaking conspiracy. Their own data says that. Where did over 2,000 deaths come from? They can't answer that. I've written in personally, as I've stated in other lives, I've written in personally to please investigate what happened to my father. That we'd have several whānau members dying days after they received the vaccination. Please explain. The letter I received from the Ministry of Health said people will die and people will get injured. So they've admitted it. The problem is they haven't admitted the numbers. No conspiracy here. So here's the issue. When people call you an anti-vaxxer, that's just covering up the truth. What I am, and I'll state that, and I've stated that publicly, is I am anti-Pfizer, anti-Moderna, and anti-corruption. There is a difference. There is a difference. So kia kaha whānau. I hope you enjoyed this morning's live. I'm going to now carry on with my darling's breakfast. And first of all, though, I'm going to go through everyone's comments and acknowledge you all because you are so important to me. You are important to me. Without you, there is no me, right? And I wish the politicians understood that. Without the people, there are no politicians. They have no one to represent. And we need leaders that are going to rebuild trust within our parliamentary system. I don't even have trust in the health system, even though my whānau will find themselves there. And I said, we have to be vigilant. When our babies go in, we have to be vigilant. When our kaumātua go in, we have to be vigilant. Whānau, we have to be our whānau's advocate. And if we all do that, and we all have each other's back, we'll be better off. And we let those know, like I watched it was a movie. What was that movie we watched last night that we were watching? It was interesting anyway. It's a US movie, and don't know the name of it, but this woman was on life support, and and a guy moved into her flat and was able to connect to her spirit. She wasn't dead yet. She was on life support, and the family were going to pull the life support from her, and he with a couple of other people uh, stole her body to keep her alive, and until they could try and figure out how to connect her spirit back with her body, and convince Whānau that they should keep her on life support. Long story short, she ended up making that connection, but what I saw was just the security system within the hospital, and how when your body's in the hospital, you literally become a ward of this, like a ward of the state or a ward of the hospital. So those are things to consider as well, Whānau. And also with elderly care, we also need to be very, very vigilant. But anyway, yeah, that's where it is, honey. Looking for the protein shake. The protein, it's vegan organic, is a protein shake that we have. And my daughter's just asked for the protein shake. Sorry, I have Whānau coming in and out. So I'm just lucky my husband's dealing with it all. Yeah, so thank you for just food for thought, Whānau? Let's carry on with these conversations. And like Neil Oliver said, once trust is gone, it's pretty much gone forever. You break a vase, yes, you can glue it all back together, but you'll see it's never going to be the same. And you know, the trust with our government has gone. Labor has severed any trust with any governments. Labor have used, you remember, $200 billion has been spent or been spent, and they've used money to hook people into agreeing with their process and their system. Apparently, they used it for the 1080 drop. Iwi were against 1080 until money was thrown at them, and then they supported them with the 1080 drop. And I worked in that space, and I saw that, and I was like, I didn't realize at the time that money had transferred. But that's their modus operandi. Give people money, then you shut them up, and they become compliant and complicit. And $200 billion is a lot of money for people to become compliant and complicit. And we're seeing a $600 million being spent on our police. And I did have a live saying, is that the right way to go? No, I don't think so. I think they should be defunded, and that they should earn their budget, and by bringing crime rates down, because there's no accountability on how they spend that money. If they don't spend it in frontline policing, and I can say in my community we've had to rely on gang members to protect small businesses, means they're not spending the money on frontline policing, then where is all that money going to? And where's the accountability back to you and I, because it's taxpayers' money? And they seem to be, yes, they've got their own act, but there is no political oversight. And the money, it's our money that is used to fund the police. There is systemic racism within the police force that has not been dealt with. That has not been acknowledged by the current leaders of the police force. And so I know, and even Rawiri Waititi for Te Pāti Māori said, we're going to have more dead Māori on the streets. And that's, we just know that. So and was that payout, that $600 million, a payout for what happened in Wellington? Remember, the police stood back. They weren't going to do anything. And then they come with all guns blazing, literally. So was that a payoff? just make the connection, folks. Follow the money. Anyway, food for thought. Kia pai tō rā. Have an awesome day. We're going to head off to Waterworld, to the gym and to the pools and the sauna and the spa, which we absolutely love. And it's a way of bringing you back into rangi Māori e, kia tau te rangi Māori e. Kia pai tō rā, ka kite anō, kia ora rā.